Hi there, welcome to Homekeepers. Hey, come right in. If we have not met before, I'm Arthelene Rippy and I've been around here a long time, and we're so glad that you are with us today. If you're a brand new viewer, we like to talk about things that certainly affect the home and are important to parents and children and the way the whole unit works. And great news, because Heide Janshon is back, and she has been our kind of expert on the educational system, visits us once a month, but it's been too long this time because of her schedule. But she is really qualified now. She's always, since her 10-year-old son came home with math that she couldn't figure out, and she is very gifted as well as her children. They've all been tested, very smart people. She got interested and she started learning about Common Core, and I really think it was a mandate from the Lord that got her on a path to really work and help with our educational system. Well, that's what has happened. She did a lot before, but she's coming in today loaded because she's let a lot of other things go to the side, and she's doing a lot of substitute teaching, and she's in our school systems at several grade levels. And what she told me this morning still kind of has me just sitting here with my mouth open. So I just wonder what the Lord has in the future for her. But if you're a grandmother, if you're an aunt, if you're a parent, I mean, if you know any children at all, I hope you'll stay tuned to hear what she has to say, because we're going to shine the spotlight on some things that you might not be aware of. And I'm going to join Stephanie for a hamburger noodle casserole. Was kind of looking for something, you know, for the family to enjoy that's hearty and filling and not too awfully expensive. And Stephanie thinks it looks kind of like a modified sort of lasagna thing, but we'll show it to you, see what you think. Before I join her, I want to thank all of you who've ever given one dime to this program. You have no idea how highly I regard you, and I appreciate it. And I have this little sense that there's lots and lots of people who've watched for years, and you thought, I'm going to give to that ministry someday, and haven't done that so far. Let it happen today, okay? I'm going to put the information up on the screen for you. If you use your bank card or any kind of card, 1-800-229-0059 is the telephone number you need. And if you still use paper and stamps and a pen like I do, send it to Homekeepers, Box 6922, Clearwater, Florida, 33758. And we will thank you so much. Hope you will answer the call if the Lord's talking to you about this. Bless your heart. We appreciate you. And I've joined, you know, when I get my bills now.
She didn't even finish her sentence.
This is Stephanie, if you haven't met her.
I'm going to join. Wait.
Yeah, I know it. I'm so loaded today. I pay everything in the, you know, with a pen and a stamp and an envelope.
Yes.
You don't, probably.
I do not. I have not paid with like
And I
that.
keep getting these things that say, you can know the joy of paperless. And I'm too old to change, you know. I like to have that in my hand and prove.
Sure.
I think, well, haven't we learned through WikiLeaks that a lot of things can go up?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well, before we get into this,
okay,
you had a near disaster in the beauty shop, and every woman can.
We have to share all my secrets?
Yeah, and every woman can agree, you know, they identify with this.
Yes, so she put the foils in. And she usually just does a little darker contrast color. Well, she tried something new. She took the foils out, and it was black.
This color.
And I looked, I mean, yeah, I look like Broomhilda. And she's blow drying it, and I'm like, did you try something different? And she's just like, yeah. And I was like, no, I don't think we're going to do this one. No. So she had to refoil with my whole head. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, because that's serious stuff.
And then she did it, and then I liked it. So.
Yeah. What do you want me to do?
Okay, so this is hamburger noodle casserole. When you first said this, I was thinking it was more like, because I thought homemade hamburger helper. Yeah. Is what I was thinking. I do one with beef broth and cream of mushroom soup, and that's what I was thinking. But this is more like a deconstructed lasagna. Yeah. Is what this is. So I have a pound and a half of hamburger in here. I'm going to put some garlic in here. We're just going to saute it for a second. You're spraying a 9x13 pan, which you went over the sink. Thank you so very much.
I remembered.
And then you have cream cheese, ricotta, and sour cream. You're going to mix those together first.
All together, okay.
Yep. You're going to mix all those, and then you're going to put these onions in and mix it together, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So then I have sugar. I have a little bit of sugar. I think that's just to balance out the acid in the tomatoes. And I have salt and pepper. And then I have 3 8-ounce cans of tomato sauce that I'm going to put in here.
I'm going to borrow this for a second. This is sour cream, and what's that other thing?
Ricotta.
I know cream cheese. Oh,
cream
ricotta.
cheese ricotta, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's really like a deconstructed lasagna.
Uh-huh.
A super easy lasagna.
I just licked my fingers, and I read somewhere you're not supposed to.
It's your show, so you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah. Okay, so I have these heating up, and
I'm staying way away from this.
Yeah, like we're like.
Yeah. Hello.
And then we cook some noodles just to the package instructions.
Save some time.
Yep. So hamburger, garlic, salt, pepper, sugar, tomato sauce.
It has to taste good with all that stuff in it.
Yeah, you're good. That's good.
Okay.
And then just, you can just stir in the onions.
Okay.
And then
I licked my finger again.
Yes, you did. Your show. You can do whatever you want. Mm-hmm. So then I have the noodles. I'm going to put these noodles in.
I would like anybody to write me that doesn't lick their fingers when they're cooking.
Please.
So just let us know.
Yeah, just let us know.
Okay, so I know this sounds really like, did she come over on the ark? How do you pay your bills online? I hate to ask.
I just hit pay bill. My bank account is already attached to it because I've already set it up. Mm-hmm. And then they just take it right out of my account.
But what if they take the wrong amount?
You put the amount in that you're paying. I think.
Well, I know my kids do.
Yeah. So then you just take your pan.
And let's look at something that's gorgeous.
Yes, you take your pan. We're going to put half of this mixture in there.
And this is a really economical
and you can
entree.
Do less meat and really make it economical, which we kind of did. We didn't quite have enough meat for 2 recipes.
Okay, now she's putting together.
Okay, so I put a layer of the beef and noodle mixture. I'm just going to pile the cheese mixture that Miss Rippy so nicely mixed up. What are you doing?
I'm watching you.
Oh. You're pointing with your fork. I'm like,
oh, sorry about that.
Hey, you didn't put the onions on top.
Oh, that's right. And Susan told me to do that.
Please follow all the instructions.
Yeah, because it makes it so much prettier.
And it tastes good. It adds another layer of flavor. So then we're just going to mix, spread the cheese layer out. Then you're going to put the other half on top. You're going to bake it.
It is so pretty that you can put it on the table and be real proud.
Yes. You're going to bake it, and then when you're done baking it, you're going to put some cheddar cheese on top of it.
Put it back in.
Put it back in. Let it melt a little bit.
Ooh, it's good. Surprised me. I'm always surprised when we do something that's really good, you know.
Does it taste like deconstructed lasagna? Does it taste like lasagna?
No.
No?
No, it really doesn't.
Maybe like hamburger helper.
Maybe it's just tomato.
Hamburger helper.
Well, there's no hamburger helper in this.
No, I'm saying it's homemade hamburger helper. Have you ever had hamburger helper?
Never.
That does not surprise me one bit.
Do you buy it?
Not anymore. Back in our big, it's all of this in a box.
I know it's supposed to help hamburger.
Yeah, you buy hamburger and you buy all of this in a box.
Oh,
and then
really?
You just mix it all together and add water. In our very lean days, the beginning, in our very lean days, my son, he said, no more hamburger helper, please. No more. So
we're not that.
I don't make it anymore. But yeah, that's what it. So it's either like lasagna or hamburger helper.
You can see how big this is and how pretty.
It'll feed a multitude. That could be leftovers.
And it would go well at a church dinner. Mm-hmm. So if you would like to have the recipe, we'll be glad to get it out to you. Email us. We have a pile every morning of emails. I send them to Wanda. Wanda sends them to you because I like to read your little sweet notes. Really appreciate that. Or if you don't do the computer, like I don't pay it online, just write to us. Send us an envelope with your own stamp and your return address, and we'll be glad to get it out to you. Now, if you haven't met Heidi, you're going to love her, so stay with us.
If you would like a copy of today's recipe, just write to the address on your screen or you can email your request to arthelene@rippy.org.
I'm so glad to welcome Heidi back to the program. We've had a hard time with our schedules, and so finally you made it. And I think the last time you were on was maybe in the summertime. I don't think school has started yet.
No, I don't think so.
And we do like to see you every month,
yes,
for sure. I want to go over just a little bit, and then I want you to tell us all your stories. She's doing a lot of substitute teaching now, which has been more than eye-opening. It's been mouth-opening too, right? Yes. Wide-eyed, mouth open. But very quickly, I found her when I discovered a connection from a mutual friend, and she had studied a lot about Common Core. She has 2 children. She's a very diligent, hands-on mother. And you know, Heidi, I'm thinking more and more, every parent now needs to do a little homeschooling.
Oh my goodness.
You know, a little supplemental.
Yes, they do.
And Heidi brought to our attention something called Common Core. Many people had heard about it, but in essence, it was the federal government, again, getting involved in something I think they have no business in. And people who were not educated designed tests for our children who had never been tested. They'd never been tried. And the way they got it to the states was handing them grant money. Mm-hmm. And if you didn't do what they told you to do to our children, then you didn't get the money.
That's correct.
That's basically it. Another thing that was brought to my attention was a lot of this anti-bullying. None of us are in favor of bullying, but behind this is a push for this transgender education that's going on, where in kindergarten a teacher might say, someday you'll feel like a boy, someday you'll feel like a girl. They're setting up a confusion, and Hollywood too, it's like they're promoting the transgender thing.
I mean, the feeling in the schools now by the teachers are really walking on eggshells. They've got to be so politically correct, and when it comes down from up above, mm-hmm. that you can't question this, you can't question that, children's civil liberties are at stake. There's so much, and it leaves a door wide open for the things that are not of God. Mm-hmm. And I'll say that to anyone, because when you start waffling on this and then you become tolerant here, but you're intolerant mm-hmm. here, and we're seeing that happen with the national anthem nationwide. Mm-hmm. Athletes sitting down when the national anthem mm-hmm. is played, and now they've given that option to students in the classrooms. Well, then what respect are you teaching? Patriotism is out the door, and why should we even have a government? Perhaps we should just live in a state of chaos.
Yeah, and the ones that have really impressed me are those that are making millions of dollars. Because of the United States of America, because of the capitalism, because of the way we operate. That's another show. One more thing that was brought to my attention on this Common Core, this interference, I think, way too much from the federal government. This teacher or principal called it screen time. Mm. And the kids are on these computers, and there's a lot of questions, things that come up. And that goes to, I think, Google. I mean, it's out there forever, all this information. There's no privacy anymore, so that child can be tracked mm-hmm. from a very young age all the way through high school and college.
They have a cloud where the whole premise of Common Core is that we have a set of standards across the nation, and that you could go to a school in Minnesota and then transfer to a school in California and transfer one to Alaska and then New York and then Florida and then the middle of the state, and each one of those institutions would be able to grab your information from the cloud and see your life mm-hmm. right before them. Everything you've done from cradle to wherever, whatever.
To grave.
Well, it's called pre-K to 20, pre-K 20, mm-hmm. and that's what the government has labeled it, so that you have this file out there in the cloud that somebody can reach down and get. It has everything: disciplinary, behavioral, mm-hmm. anytime you've been written up, your grades, mm-hmm. everything.
Mm-hmm. So, we want you to know about it, that's for sure, and hopefully take some measures to get education back into the states where it belongs, where there's a certain texture, there's a certain culture that really makes this nation great, is the
local control.
Difference. Yeah,
yeah, the local control.
Now, you are a substitute teacher, and you could teach every day if you wanted to. That's
I could. Oh my goodness, yes. We actually tap into. I have to say, first of all, that I was pleased with the process of becoming a substitute teacher. It was a little bit more intense than what it has been in the years past, and so there was a screening process. I appreciated that. I had to have all of my transcripts from high school to all through college, my graduate work and everything, my resume, and then after that proofing, then I was called in for actually a personal interview for 10 minutes, and I was asked a series of questions that had to do with classroom management and what would I do in a certain situations, like a test of 10. Oh, prior to that, when I arrived, before my actual interview with a human resources representative, I had to take a test, and I had 10 questions, grammatical and reading comprehension and so forth, and if I scored, I needed to have scored 6 out of the 10 in order to pass on to the actual personal interview process.
That is good.
Yeah, and I thought, okay, that was good, because if you couldn't do that, there's a big problem. So then that process, and then I was in the system. So I was pleased with that screening process. Once I got on into the circulation, then I can choose the assignments that I take. And then certain schools, I can actually give them my number, my children's schools, and they can call me and schedule me. So.
And the sad truth is, there are some very fine schools.
Yes, there are.
So we try not to paint it with a broad brush, but there are a lot of schools that are, from what you told me, just very little when you got here, downright dangerous.
There are. I mean, you walking into a classroom as a substitute, first of all, you don't have the luxury of having been that teacher from the beginning of the year. You don't know the students, they don't know you unless you're returning. So yes, there's not an automatic respect for you. You have to lay down the law. And I've told my students as I walk in the classroom, I'm not a mean person, and I don't want to be a mean person. I would like for that mutual respect to be there. But there are certain areas of, and we know where they are, we talk about them. It shouldn't be taboo that we talk about schools that are in low-income areas, because that is where you're going to have the majority of your behavioral problems. And we all know, and it shouldn't be a surprise, that if you have 1 or 2 children in a classroom that are disruptive, it ruins it for everyone, because your entire attention goes to classroom management. I would have to say that the eye-opening observations that I have made are that 95% of your time you deal with classroom management, getting the kids to just quiet down. And this is at any school, regardless of whether
what percentage?
95% of the time. You are classroom management, unless they're taking a test and they have to be zipped, zipped, and quiet. You're constantly fielding, sit down, please be quiet, this. And if you're, as a substitute, that's me. You know, as a substitute, that's what I'm dealing with. So I actually met with one of our area superintendents in Pasco County, because I had to ask her. I said, you know, I've gone to this one school twice now, and I have had 2 adverse experiences. And I said, I need to know if there's something that I am doing wrong. I mean, I feel that I'm a good teacher. I have a great rapport with the students. You try to have a little bit of a relationship, and she said, it's not you. And then I spoke to another one of the middle school teachers today in Pasco that also deals with low-income population, and he said, it's not you, Heidi.
Well, there was one instance, and I want you to tell the viewers about it, where the kid is pretty close to getting violent.
Yeah, I had a student who threw his phone in my direction. Now, I said that he threw it at me, and he retorted, and he said that several times adamantly, that if he had meant to throw his phone at me, he would have hit me. So yeah, I mean, you can walk into a situation where you actually feel like you're threatened as an adult, so I can't imagine what the other students in the classroom feel like. So your good students, the ones who are not disruptive, and this is an observation that I made as well, they keep their heads down, they do their work, but then they're also frustrated because because other students are disrespecting the entire classroom, and those good students can't get their work done and they can't concentrate because of the noise level.
Okay, this kid had told, you told him to put his phone down.
I did.
And he wouldn't do it, and he was very rude and
defiant.
belligerent.
Yes.
So why don't they haul his little fanny right out of that class and say, you know, you're staying here, but you're not going to go in there. Is it like the administration, the teachers are walking on eggshells?
No, actually, the teacher that I was subbing for, the students were terrified of her.
Oh, good.
They were terrified of her.
Do you think he was?
And I think that he was new to the school. But I did call the front office, and an assistant principal did remove him from the classroom, and he was counseled. So I don't know what happened once
I'd like to meet his
him.
parents.
So yeah, I mean, I think it would be very interesting. It would be. But you deal with this on a broader level. There are so many students who just don't have, there aren't consequences. Do you understand? There are no consequences at home. You can't really, there isn't anything that you can really threaten them with. And personally, I don't like threatening. Do you know what I mean? It's terrible when you have to stand over somebody and say,
yeah, because you need to carry through.
Right.
If you're going to threaten.
I'm going to give you an F. I'm going to put your name on the board. They're like, fine. You know what? I'm going to put your name on the board. Do you know what they did? They ran up to the board and they put their own name up on the board. Because they like to see their name in lights.
Middle schoolers?
Middle schoolers, 7th and 8th graders, yes. Yeah.
So you've seen it firsthand, and I don't think Pasco is a wildly depressed area.
No, it has pockets.
It was more of a underperforming school. You think because of the economic level?
We have some schools that are really struggling, and let me tell you, our superintendent has had to go before the Board of Education and defend why we have failing schools. And I'm looking at an article right here in the Tampa Times that's talking about bridging the gap, and they have those, they call them failure factories, the 5 schools in Pinellas, South Pinellas County and St. Pete that are failing, and they're calling it bridging the gap. And I'm saying this is the fallout of Common Core. The fallout is that they were teaching or have imposed upon our lower grades standards that are not age appropriate. Cognitively, developmentally, they're not age appropriate. And so now they're wondering, what can they do to bring these students up? Why is there such a high population? We need to look at what's going on in the elementary and middle schools. Why can't they read when they enter high school? That's the biggest gap we need to bridge. Why can't they read when they get into high school?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And is it still because the government, federal government, is holding out a little money here, and if you don't go by our standards?
Well, now they have the elementary, the Every Student Succeeds Act, ESSA, where there is now the possibility that the states could do away with Common Core, but then what do they go to, right? What standards are they going to pull?
Well, that's a step. That's a step.
It is a step.
We are out of time, so we got to get our schedules together. But Heidi, I don't know. I think the Lord bringing you into the life of Homekeepers, and now you're teaching. I think He's got a plan, and He's raised you up for a reason. And I
want to say one more thing. Is that just quickly? Is that relationships with students is more important than anything, and I love teaching.
Yeah, I'm glad you're doing it. Stay with me. I have a couple things to say before we have to say goodbye.
Arthelene would like you to keep the following information handy. You may contact Homekeepers by writing to Homekeepers, P.O. Box 6922, Clearwater, Florida 33758, or go to www.rippy.org. Remember, we always enjoy hearing from our viewers, and we thank you for your support.
Hope you'll remember that you can contact us through the 800 number or by writing to us if you'd like to donate to the ministry. The 800 number is there on your screen, 800-229-0059, and also the address, Box 6922, Clearwater, Florida 33758, and we can continue bringing you these good, beneficial programs, so thanks so much. In 2 Kings 20:15, the prophet Isaiah asked, "What have they seen in thy house?" This This is an extremely important question to be considered in American homes today. I recently had lunch with my 21-year-old grandson, and as we were talking, I told him he would never know the America that I have known. I felt I owed him an apology, as well as my other grandchildren and 8 great-grandchildren. The sad truth is they will live and grow up in a nation which I believe in many ways to be post-Christian. In today's America, killing children right to the point of birth is legal. I recently watched a U.S. Senate committee member interview Priscilla Smith from Planned Parenthood. Ms. Smith was asked if she believed it to be humane to tear off the arm of a viable fetus whose heart was still beating, and she said she believed it to be humane. As I continued talking to my grandson, I realized how our Supreme Court has mocked God while voting to annihilate his holy marriage covenant by legalizing same-sex unions. The unthinkable has now become law. While finishing our lunch, we discussed an upcoming presidential election, which had been particularly gross. I told him that I have watched many presidential debates, and never, ever did the subject matter include one candidate groping women and the other a notorious liar. Seems with 350 million citizens, we could find better candidates. And while driving away from the restaurant, I wondered, when did America's heart become so cold? When did her judges and lawmakers choose to spit in the face of God? And that question takes me back to Isaiah's question. What have they seen in thy house? Has holiness been on display in our homes? Have those living in your home observed a different standard from the world? Is your home a place of peace, even in this world filled with chaos and anxiety? Friend, if it's not, it can be. It's a choice. When Jesus is in charge, things can change. I sincerely hope it's not too late for our nation. All indications are that we are on a fast track to destruction. I do know that God's first form of government was the home. That's the place where corrections can be made. And that is the reason for this program. You see, I firmly believe there's no higher calling than that of a homekeeper. God bless you.
If you should miss a Homekeepers program, you can catch up by going to www.ctnonline.com. Click on CTN Programs and then on Homekeepers.